Hi, this is Zach with Worn&Wound. Today I'll be taking a look at the Tempest Commodore. Tempest is a relatively new dive watch brand based out of Asia that is one of these boutique watch brands, but I believe is kind of the next generation of the boutique dive watch brand. I mean, we've all come to know and love many of these brands, and I think we're starting to see kind of a new generation come in that's playing off of the trends, the popularity of this type of watch, these kind of rugged but affordable tool dive watches, but really push manufacturing and design on them, and no stock parts, really nice manufacturing, interesting materials, and then all coming in at a relatively affordable price. The Tempest Commodore is the second watch by Tempest. The first one's called the Viking, and I haven't seen it, but I've read really good things about it. And the Commodore is really exciting. I have to say, immediately when I first saw this, I was impressed by it. It's a full titanium dive watch with 500 meter water resistance, so quite high water resistance. And I believe if you were to compare this to any other watch currently on the market, it's really it's almost the Tudor Pelagos, which is a $4,000 watch, obviously by the Rolex sub brand, which is also a full titanium watch and a 500 meter water resistance. And where there's a ton of differences and all that, this is, I kind of would call almost like the affordable equivalent to that. So I think there's going to be a really strong following for this watch. Titanium bracelet, ceramic bezel, Miyota 9015 movement in there, sapphire crystal obviously, a sandwich dial, and then an array of different dial styles and colors. So there's kind of a geometric dial, then more of a military style dial with Arabic numerals. There's black, there's full lume or white with a black sub in there, which is really cool. Emerald green and blue, so you have a really nice selection. And these all come in at $598, which is I think an incredible value for a solid titanium dive watch with a 500 meter water resistance, and as we'll show you, really nice detailing. So let's take a closer look. The Commodore is definitely a large tool diver at its heart, and it utilizes the titanium material to make it lighter and therefore more wearable, but it is a large watch. The diameter is 45 millimeters on the case, 46 on the bezel, obviously larger at the crown, about 48.3 millimeters lug to lug, 14.5 millimeters tall, obviously has a very tall bezel there, so that is where a decent amount of the height is coming from. And the design is, it's a very rugged, it's very aggressive. I mean, it's a very nice looking, for a modern looking tool dive watch. And I like that they went with this modern look. It's not trying to pay homage to anything. It's just a sleek, cool looking modern design with interesting angles to it. Very broad lugs here with a beveled edge on them. And when you look down the case, down the bezel, down the lugs, you'll see that the case is actually tapered up from the bottom, so it's a little narrower than 45 at the base of the watch. Not only does that kind of activate the size a little more rather than having a straight slab size, I think it wears a little bit more comfortably, gives a little bit more of a sleek look to it, which I think also plays off of the modern feel of the watch. On the right side, off of 3, you have a 7 millimeter screw-in crown. Once again, there's a 500 meter water resistance, so as you'd expect, it is screw down. It has this really nice crown guard here, which is a little bit blocked from the front to see, but what's really nice about it is how it's made. So it's not just kind of like sculpted into the side. The crown guard, I believe, is actually coming through the center of the case. It's installed in there somehow. It has really beautiful angles on it that kind of almost contrast with the flow of the case there. Just a really nice detail. It's very strong looking. When you look at it from underneath, actually you can see how the crown rests in there. Just a really nice design. There's a really good eye on the whole watch for these little details, and I think just overall kind of three-dimensionality of it. This isn't a watch that was just drawn from 2D and then from one side and then made by a case factory. You know that the designer of this watch was looking at every angle, and that really comes through to make, I think, a better designed watch. The bezel, it's a 120 click unidirectional dive bezel, as you expect. There's an okay mechanism to it, not the best I've felt, but it's not bad. You can see it's a little bit of a shift back, but then it locks into place. On this model with the 12369, it's a little hard to find the exact spot, but I do believe it is lining up very well. I like the grip design here, these broad teeth. We're used to seeing the little kind of coin edging. This is just a different design. I imagine if you had gloves on or something, this would be much easier to hold on to and turn. So I do like this design. Also just very rugged, very masculine looking. I really like, actually, titanium. It's a great material. Don't come across it as much as you might expect. I think it's a really logical material for a larger watch. It's a really nice coloration to it. It's definitely a darker gray than steel. Sometimes that's, doesn't matter, but I think it really kind of adds to the overall look of this watch in particular. Flipping the watch over now. This might be a little hard to see, but has a really cool case back with this giant anchor in there that's very articulate. It's a very deep machining on here, so has a just really nice detail. Always love seeing spaces that are often kind of neglected get extra attention, and I think this is just a nice kind of secret detail for you. Just lets you know, this is a $600 watch. A lot of thought was put into it. The Commodore comes in 2 different dial designs and 4 different colors for a nice variety for you to choose from. And I honestly think both designs are really nice. I'd have a hard time choosing between them. You have one with numbers and then the non-numerical kind of geometric, more kind of classic dive design. But it has a much more modern feel to it, even though it's very simple. It's not like a design like, oh wow, I've never seen, and nobody's ever done that before, but it's just very well executed and it works very well with the design. So the dial, which is actually a sandwich dial, has a matte black, on this model, matte black surface above a full lume disc beneath. Cut through that are these large rectangles for the main index, larger at 3, 6, 9, and doubled at 12. So you have a nice kind of crosshair feel to it. Immediately gives it some symmetry. And then smaller ones around, white markers in between that for the individual minutes and seconds. Very straightforward, extremely legible, bold design. It's just one of those things, simple works. They didn't get too fussy. Reminds me of the Sin 556i a little bit. It's geometric, it's pure, it works. Just below 12 is the Tempest logo, which features a kind of a hot orange cross sort of shape. It's a nice little shape, it's a nice little logo, very simple. The little pop of color works there, and then Tempest in a very kind of bold sans serif font. Nothing too special there. I think it's sized well for the dial. And then above 6, you have Commodore in an italic font, 500 meters, 1650 feet there. Kind of all the classic markings you'd expect to find on a sport watch, dive watch. Between 4 and 5, you have a date wheel. On some models, it is white with black. That would be actually on the black model, the blue model, and the green model. On the white model, they did something different, which I'll show you. I think it's a fine location here. That kind of 4.5 thing works for some people. I think because of the size of this dial, it is fine in this circumstance. It's nice to have the date. I have no real complaint about that. Now looking at the hands, you have these blocky hands that I like the design of too. I think they're effective. I like that they didn't go for something more kind of typical. So they're just these trapezoids. They're tapering towards a point, but they are ended with a kind of a blunted edge. They're both white with lume filling, and there's a line in the middle. So there's just a break. There's like 2 sections. Then the back is black. The second hand then is obviously this bright orange stick hand, also black for the counterweight. It's nice to have that bright color there. Definitely works with the sportiness of the design. And it's the same color that matches the logo there, so there's a little bit of play there. It'd be cool if actually to see a little bit of a plunger style, maybe have the minute hand in bright orange too. It just would have been cool to see. But overall, very nice. The bezel, very classic bezel design. This is a ceramic bezel, which is great to see at this price point, so it's going to be very scratch resistant. It has numerical markers from 0 to 15, non-numerical markers, and then 20, 30, 40, 50. Very clean design, very classic, simple to look at and read. The lume overall, excellent. This has C3, which you can tell from the kind of pale green color when it's not glowing. It all glows very brightly. The sandwich dial is very bright. The hands are super bright, which is just, it's always unfortunate when you get so far with a really nice dive watch and then you look at it in the dark and it's not, at what you expect. But this delivers, and once again, just works towards that really good value at $600. So now we're going to take a look at some of the other colors. Now looking at the other dial design as well as one of the other colors. So this is an Arabic numeral dial. It has obviously a large 12369 and then an inner 24-hour track as well as cut through rectangles. Much more aggressive design with those really, really large numerals. Because it's a sandwich dial, then they have to go with that kind of stencil effect where you have the cuts going through the numbers and that line, which I think makes it very military looking, very aggressive. It's a nice alternative to the dive, more classic dive, just purely geometric look, as I think maybe this makes it a little bit more field looking, definitely more tactical, and definitely more aggressive. Not a style you typically see on a dive watch, so definitely just very cool alternative. Having the 24-hour track in there to just it doesn't hurt. I sometimes actually like to be able to refer to 24-hour track in a faster read, so that's nice to have. Then this version has a full loom dial, and what's interesting, typically you don't see that with a sandwich dial, as the whole point is the loom is underneath, but here the white is full loom, and that's love it or leave it for some people. I think on a really sporty watch, it works well, and then the white with the black underneath is very cool looking. Definitely a different look, much more aggressive, kind of shocking actually. I don't know, I was surprised by how much I like this. I didn't really expect to be quite so into this look, I think just because of my like of a classic dive watch, but this works very well and it's interesting. This is also the only model. The hands here are inverted, so they are black around the edge with the lumen side rather than white around the edge. Obviously that gives it more contrast on the dial. And then the date on this model is black on silver, which I believe is actually the stock date wheel on the Miyota 9015, which these are all powered by. So the other ones are a custom date. But overall, yeah, just a very nice look. And then there's also two other colors, blue and green. I'll show you those right now. The Commodore also comes in a beautiful blue and a really rich green color. The blue, it's actually softer than I expected it to be. I expected more of like a dark navy blue, but it is almost verging on a little bit of a purple in there. It's kind of a nice ocean blue. This is definitely the softest of the options, the least aggressive. Once again, it comes in the geometric or the Arabic numeral dial. If you're looking for a blue, I think this is a very nice alternative to the black or the white, if that's your thing. Then looking at the green, gorgeous kind of emerald forest green here. It works especially well, I think, with the 12369 dial. There's obvious kind of military association with greens. I also love on this one particularly how the orange responds to the color underneath. Both great options. I think they did a really good job creating, four very distinct color choices that just don't. They give them each their personality. The black is classic, the white's surprisingly aggressive and different, the blue's kind of soothing, and the green is very military. So you have a nice selection to choose from. On the wrist, there's no mistaking that the Tempest Commodore is a large tool dive watch. It's big, it's aggressive looking, but I think it wears surprisingly well. I'm not really a big watch guy. You're probably aware of, if you read the site, usually I kind of max out around 42, but occasionally I'm surprised by a large watch, and I think this one does surprise me, and that's largely also because it's titanium. But so the 45 millimeters, it's obviously big. It's going to look big on my wrist. I have a 7-inch wrist, but the 48 millimeter lug to lug isn't too bad. So it sits well on top of the wrist, and I think for maybe a little bit smaller, but certainly slightly larger wrists, it's going to fit very well. Because it's solid titanium, including the bracelet, the weight is negligible, which makes it very comfortable to wear. Definitely, I think, the ideal material for a very large dive watch. I know, sometimes the heft of a steel is appealing too, but frankly, over the course of a day, that does get uncomfortable. And I happen to find wearing an all-titanium watch on a titanium bracelet to be fairly pleasant. Then the look. This is a great looking watch. I might lean towards vintage watches, but when a watch is properly styled in a modern way, I think it works really well. It's not trying to be too cool, too spacey. There's no unnecessary details. It's just a well executed watch. There's kind of classic elements, but the angles, the manufacturing, all the lines are very sharp. The titanium looks great. It just comes across as just a great modern sport watch. I don't know. It's kind of a simple thing to say, but it is just effective the way it is. I think they went just far enough with it. There's enough design elements to keep you intrigued. and it's it's a pleasant watch to wear. Depending on the color, obviously you get different choices. I definitely like this military style dial more than I expected. Once again, my personal taste, but it's a little bit more aggressive even, and I just like those large numerals. I think they fit really well on a watch this size, so that's particularly appealing to me. Now, looking at the bracelet, they did a fantastic job with this bracelet. It's a 22 millimeter bracelet, solid end links, solid titanium. I believe it tapers slightly. Very big clasp here. We'll actually take a closer look on a separate model, might be easier. So what's really nice about the design, it has a three paneled link design. The middle link sticks up and out, so it has like a spine going down it with these beveled sides. Gives it really nice dimensionality, a sculptural look to it. Once again, more modern, more aggressive, almost like a type of armor. I think it's just a really nice design, a really nice riff on a classic bracelet design, so that it doesn't look and feel like another oyster style bracelet. It is its own thing. It works well with the watch. You have a nice flow actually from the bezel grips here down. Just, I love that everything was thought out like that. Changing the links, there's 2 screws on either side. Fairly classic, fairly simple. Does not take too much effort to change. And then even doing these big buckles, I love these deploying clasps. They're getting more and more popular. This exact style, I don't even know. Maybe a bunch of brands are getting them from the same place, but it opens up with these push buttons here. So you can see titanium all the way around. What's great about it is that the dive extension is built in. So you pull these back, and you can slide this forward. You can see it reveals Tempest there. So you get some nice sizing options. So if you actually size the bracelet a little bit tight, which I probably would do, you can release it a little bit over the course of the day and make it much more comfortable. So, that's a very practical standpoint, but then obviously for diving, if you need to pull it all the way out to get over a suit, it'll accommodate that very, very quickly and easily. And once again, just the manufacturing on this is fantastic. So $600 watch. Can't repeat that enough because you're really getting a lot here. To wrap up, with the Commodore, I think Tempest has a really strong new watch here. It is their second watch, and the first one, the Viking, does have a cult following to it, and I think got a lot of respect. But I think this one's really going to kind of go farther for the brand, get the name out there. I think this is a watch a lot of people are going to like and a lot of people are going to want. I think that the mix of the modern design, the really well thought out detailing on it, seriously, when you see this watch in person, you will appreciate that all the angles make sense. Everything is thought about. There's just a really good designer's eye behind it. Yet, in being a new design, a modern design, it's not so far-fetched. It's not so breaking from kind of the classic dive watch aesthetic that it's weird. It's it's a watch I think you can get and wear and really appreciate, and just kind of mix in with your watch collection, or if you're looking for really solid dive watch at a good price to be like your go-to tool dive watch. This is 500 meters, titanium, ceramic bezel. It hits all those kind of really high-end marks that just going to make it very appealing and a very long-lasting watch. Like I said, you can compare it in abstractly to the Tudor Pelagos, which there's a whole conversation to be had there. But I think when you're just looking at sheerly specs, this is a really nice kind of affordable alternative to that. If that's a watch that you super desire, but $4,000, $3,000 to $4,000 is out of your range, which is very understandable. You're getting a lot of what makes that a great watch in this much more affordable package, and that's very tempting. And then honestly, this is something might even be more exciting looking to some people out there, especially if you like sandwich styles, which are very cool. So yeah, Miyota 9015 Movement, $598, 4 different colors, a bunch of things to choose from. Please read the full review on Worn&Wound. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, and Twitter. Thank you.